I remember a boyfriend and girlfriend. So we got the call that she was sexually assaulted, and we've gone to the scene. And when you first go there, the bed was unkept. It looked like there had, something had happened. There was an admission from the alleged offender at the time that they had sexual intercourse. And the girl who called the police said that she was raped. So as an investigator, you go there and you've got a victim who's saying that she was raped. You have an alleged offender who says, yes, they did have sex. The room looks messy and unkept. There's semen, on the bed and on clothing and things like that. So as an investigator, you start bagging evidence, because you have to act quickly with sexual assaults, because for a SAKE kit, which is a sexual assault investigation kit, you've got to act quickly before the evidence is gone. So if somebody alleges that something has happened, you don't have the protracted investigation time up your sleeve. You've got to act quite soon. And so as an investigator, you go and you crime scene the area. Meanwhile, there's this poor bloke, I remember this specific one, who's sitting there and he kept saying, she invited me over. We had broken up. She didn't want us to be broken up, and she invited me over to her house and we had sex. And then after that, I still told her we're not back. This doesn't mean we're back together. And that's when she started saying that it was rape. And here you are as an investigator, get his version of events versus her version of events, and the evidence shows that they've had sex. So what do? If you leave that situation, and you don't at least apply for an AVO or something to protect her, and something happens or it is true, then the victim is left without any form of protection. But if you take action based on that, and it's really difficult, because it ended up coming out that she made full admissions, that she only did that because she wanted them to stay together. But in the meantime, AVOs had been applied for. He hadn't been charged at that stage, but at that particular point in time, an AVO was applied for. That still has to go to court. And in the interim, if he just does something to annoy her or peeve her off, she has the ability now to get him criminally charged for a breach, because that AVO technically still stands. So that was just one example.
And there was no consequence for her of having made a false allegation. And I mean, that, of course, is one of the things I keep talking about, the fact that police have told me that they're under orders not to take action against women who make false allegations, because it'll put off other women from making, from coming forward. I mean, I just tear my hair out over that.
Yeah, I have. So, this legislation basically says that, each person who's, entering an act of intimacy, sexual intercourse, have to show that there were active steps to negate consent, and then continual consent, as you said. So I'm really curious as to the practicality of this, because until the ideologies change and this culture which is against men changes, all I can see is this gaping opportunity for further exploitation. Honestly, it's a little bit like one of those things where personally I think, well, I guess this is a consequence of the sexual revolution type I guess worldview, where you can sleep around with whoever you want. Maybe this will more bring back a little bit more virtue, because people won't want to risk being up for all these charges. Maybe marriage is the only safe option for intimacy.
But this could apply in marriage. This applies to marriage too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but
I mean, your wife has to be able to. If a wife claims that he didn't seek consent every time they have sex, and all the way through sex, a husband could be liable for sexual assault. I mean, this is
absolutely
madness. This whole thing.
The potential here. Look, if we lived in a different world where truthfulness and objective discussion and interpretation of facts and statistics were available, then you'd only have to worry if you were a legitimate perpetrator, and then who cares? Go for it. But because we live in this broken world where this backwards way of thinking, and with an unrealistic interpretation of statistics and crime, we are left in a really bad position. And men are at the pointy end of that stick, unfortunately. They're kind of coming under that hammer. But, you know, like to have to think about the practicality of what that would involve. Like I'm really interested to see if it does get enacted into law, and then the first, like when it's tested, because it has to be tested in law, like what sort of case laws are going to be coming out from this?
Yeah, well, of course, all our senior criminal barristers have all said this is just unworkable. But no doubt
it is.
You know, feminists will find some cases where they can destroy a few men in the process, proving it's unworkable.